What do we expect from the 2025 real estate market? Let's talk about it. Steve Drew here with the Drew team at Bliss Realty. Lots of questions. Obviously, we are post election now. What do we expect? It's a great question. We're going to do a market update today, and we're going to talk about a strategy for how to make the most of the market that lies ahead. But you can't talk about what's coming ahead until you talk about what's going on right now. So let's take a quick look at the numbers as we here are in the midst of December. We are post election. What has been going on? Well, in a general sense, things haven't changed a lot. We're looking at about 21,150 homes actively for sale. That is a number that is up versus the last few years, but it is also historically still low compared to the entire decade prior to that. Pendings, 6,500 homes that are currently under contract. There's been an agreement made. That is pretty much where we were 6 weeks ago. Not a huge change there. And in the last 31 days, 5,400 homes have actually closed the process. We've seen deeds change hands. It is a sold home at that point. So, what does all of that mean? It means that we are still looking at a market that's at about 120 days supply, which historically would be very balanced. Currently, it means that buyers have a little bit of an advantage, especially because of the time of year. People that are listed for sale tend to be a little more flexible, a little more motivated when they're selling during the holidays. All of that said, we continue to be in a relatively balanced market. So, with that, we have to acknowledge that over the last year, it has been challenging for affordability for an awful lot of people. The rates went as high as being right there on the cusp of 8% for a while. After the election, we saw a little volatility, and currently, rates are right in the mid sixes. For some people, that's a huge improvement. For those of you that bought homes 5 years ago, that sounds drastically different. Understand that. Let's talk about what we are expecting in terms of home sales, rates, and what the market will look like in 2025. First thing you need to know is that home sales after an election cycle almost always go up. In fact, out of the last 11 election cycles, 9 times the home prices, or rather the home sales, the number of transactions has gone up. And in fact, that 9 out of 11, that's consecutively the last 8 election cycles that we have seen the number of transactions go up. And based on a limited number of transactions this year compared to prior, that's a pretty good bet. It is very likely we're going to see more transactions over the coming year. Rates, let's talk about it. So, right now, we know that 52% of buyers in surveys are saying if the rates get to 6 or below, they're going to be motivated to actually make a move. A lot of people are in that position, pent up demand. They've wanted to do something, they've been waiting. They may not continue to wait, and especially if the rates help in that area. So let's talk about what the rate projections are. Over the last 2 months, we've seen a lot of the big economic drivers make their predictions. A lot of the banks have, the financial institutions. So among one of them most recently, you're looking at, they expect in 2025 that we're going to see rates coming down, but not drastically, somewhere in the 6.25% area. If you look back in around the time of the election, we had other people predicting that we would see things in that 5.5 to 6 range. What does that mean? What it means is this: if you're someone that's waiting around for 3 and 4% rates before you're going to do something, that's not likely to happen anytime in the near future. And frankly, it could be an extremely long time before we see that again. But if you're somebody who's been looking to make a move and waiting for things to get a little bit better, well, they are getting a little bit better. And here's another motivation if you've been someone that's waiting. When we look at those same economic drivers and those same predictors, nationally, we're looking at home sales in price appreciation to go up another 3% or so. Now, historically, 3% is a little on the low side. If you look at it over the last 60, 70, 80 years, 3.5% or so has been pretty average. So that's a conservative estimate, but we do not see anybody predicting home prices to actually come down. So if you're somebody that's been waiting for that crash to happen, Again, there's very little out there to say that's likely. All right, so what do we do with this? Well, if you're in a place where you've been wanting to do something, especially if you're someone who has a home to sell before you purchase, keep this in mind. If you bought 3, 4, 5 years or longer ago, you probably have some significant equity. They say across the nation over the last 5 years, home values have gone up. The appreciation has been over 50%. That's huge. So, how does that help you? Well, hopefully, it helps you in that you've now got more money to work with, which means if the interest rate is higher, it's on a smaller percentage of the value of your home. It might make it more affordable. But in the end, the strategy that you need to employ to make the most of the 2025 real estate market is get the facts. Speak to someone like us at the Drew team who have the experience of having worked with over 1,000 people to help them reach their goals. Because there's two things that come into play here. One is how motivated are you? Two is how much ability do you have? What are the possibilities for you in your budget? And you're not going to know that until you talk to a professional, look at what your goals are, and assess that and get the facts necessary to know what is it going to look like. So, my encouragement as we head into 2025 is simple. Know that we're very likely to see more transactions in the coming year, that we're likely to see interest rates come down, but really they're only going to come down slightly. We're not looking at a massive change, and home values will continue to go up slowly. It's going to be modest. Around 3% is what they're looking at. All of that to say this: the sooner you do something, the better off you are, because you get what you want and you will probably save in the cost of the house. We can still be creative. There's still rate buy downs out there. In the new build sector, we've got some great opportunities as well. But the most important thing is that we have a conversation so that we can show you how do you get to your goals in 2025. So for now, that's it on the market update. Before I let you go, of course, we want to say Merry Christmas to everyone out there. So we got a short video for you.
Tom,
Robin,
and Steven, the Drew team family to yours, we want to say
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.